Board of Supervisors to order. Would you please rise and join me in a pledge of allegiance to the flag of the nation, greatest nation on earth.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Oral communications. This is the time when the public may speak on any item that is not on the printed agenda. No action may be taken by the board. Please come to the podium if you wish, and I'd like to limit it to 3 minutes. We've got a pretty tight agenda today.
Good morning. My name is David Goldenberg. I, as many people in this county and many other counties in California, are extremely concerned about fire insurance cancellations. For the people of this county, this is most likely the single most critical issue that is facing them in their personal lives. The county budget, which is being discussed today, is the next most critical area, and that's going to be discussed, of course, during the meeting. My insurance company, AAA, recently sent me a letter of cancellation, followed up by an offer for a combined plan with AAA and California Fair Plan coverage. My rate last year was $1,900 a year. My rate this year, what they're proposing, is $4,500, 2.5 times as much. I, as many people, are very frustrated with this situation. My own personal feelings, this is not an issue that is going to get resolved locally. It's going to take the efforts of many parties in order to bring about a resolution to the problem. Compromise and adaptability will be key factors to success. Legislative action is almost certain to be part of the solution. The likely participants would include, but not be limited to, Governor Newsom, Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara, legislators, power providers, PG&E, Southern California, Edison, or others, the insurance industry themselves, of course, banking industry, real estate industry, and I'm sure there's others that are impacted. So I have a question. Supervisor Brennan, my understanding is that you had a recent discussions with California Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara regarding this matter.
Sir, this is not a time for a dialogue. It is a public comment period, so Please do not address the board with questions.
Fine. It would be my hope that the board would reveal and put information out regarding any discussions they're having of such matters. Thank you.
I'd be happy to talk to you after the meeting.
Good morning, Maureen Frank, Deputy County Administrator. I just want to come before your board with some good news today. As of last Friday, we officially heard from Housing and Community Development that they are recommending that the county go ahead and proceed with the construction of 2 community resiliency centers. So it's an exciting opportunity for us in this community. Of course, the approval came with many conditions and requirements. Staff will continue to work through those as we have been all the way through the process. The next steps for the county, as we've described to you, is geotech work starts actually tomorrow. We'll get going then on property appraisals for all 4 of the properties, whether it's being purchased or donated. And then next, probably in September, we'll start on the design. And as staff, I just want to thank all of you for your continued support for this project. I think it'll be just a tremendous asset for our community, and I'm looking forward to working on it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mo. It wouldn't happen without you.
Oh, appreciate it.
I'll stand up and share.
Good morning. I want to congratulate our probation department and the Juvenile Detention Center on their stellar report. And I'm glad to see that someone finally understood what that means to us. And then my condolences to CAL FIRE. And then I would also like to announce that the Motherlode Fair kind of under the radar again, is going to have another flash sale. So it will be this Thursday, June 20th. And I can't find any information. There's nothing on the website. There's nothing at the office. There's nothing on the door. So I don't know if I should assume it's the same as last time where they're going to be selling them cash only, 4 tickets in a family pack for $16, so $4 a piece. It was 9 to 7. It was cash only the last time. But I'll give the office number so people can call. It's 532-7428. And once again, this is a flash sale for the fair on Thursday, June 20th. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, would the clerk please read the consent calendar?
Minutes of the meeting held May 31st, June 4th, and June 11th, 2019. Finding that a summary of ordinance number 3359 and 3360 were published. Approving the revised class specification for equipment technician, senior equipment technician. Approving the elimination of the senior deputy probation officer and modifications of the fiscal year 2018-2019 position allocation report. Adopting a resolution authorizing the Sheriff's Office to apply for and accept the 2018-19 State of California Department of Parks and Recreation Off-Highway Motor Vehicle Grant. Approving a notice of completion for the signalization at 5th Avenue on State Route 49108. Accepting the resignation of Christine Reevely from the Tuolumne County Commission on Aging and Dwayne Lilly and Christine Elder from the Behavioral Health Advisory Board, and directing the clerk to send a letter of appreciation and post a notice of vacancy. And approving the appointment of Linda Ann King to the Oak Grove Cemetery District.
Okay, staff is asked to pull item number 4 for discussion. I am pulling item number 6 for discussion. Any other items wishing to be pulled? Okay, is there any public comment on items 1 through 3, 5, and 7 through 9 on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll bring it back for a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, and that's obviously a minus item 4 and 6. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay, unanimous. Will the clerk reread item number 4, please?
Consideration of approving the elimination of the senior deputy probation officer and modifications of the fiscal year 2018-19 position allocation report.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Kimberly Phipps, Senior HR Analyst. This item was requested by Chief Downey so that we could get some support for her superintendent, who's currently been working about 7 days a week, so he has no supervisory backup right now. The wording on the item, I wanted to clarify, we're actually asking that a senior deputy probation officer be eliminated and the supervising probation officer be added. Do you have any questions?
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Any public comment? Okay. Bring it back to the board.
We'll move on staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay. I've got a motion by Supervisor Brennan, second by Supervisor Gray.
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 5-0. Will the clerk please read item number 6?
This is consideration of approving the notice of completion for the signalization at 5th Avenue and State Highway 49 and 108.
Okay. No need for a staff report. I want to make a comment. Okay. That sequencing on those two lights, on 108 in Jamestown, is abysmal. It is creating unnecessary traffic delays getting in and out of Jamestown. And I really want Caltrans to take a look at that because it just needs to get fixed. If you're coming up the hill, it can take you 3 lights to get through those 2 lights. Okay? And I've also had problems going down the hill, but the predominant problem that I've noticed is going up the hill. And I'm getting a lot of feedback from constituents. So if they would please take a look at those 2 lights and see if we can fix that.
We'll
Pot.
take care of that.
positive part of that is it's easy to get across the road now. Other than that, it is pretty bad. I want to add that we have, through TCTC, have asked Caltrans to look at that before, and it was under my understanding that they made some changes. So you might want to talk to Darren and see what happened in there. But it was discussed with.
It's still bad. Okay. Okay. Any public comment on this item? Okay, I'll bring it back to the board.
Move on staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Supervisor Gray, second by Supervisor Campbell. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Thank you very much. It's 5-0. Will the clerk of the board, are we? Will the clerk of the board please read our 9 a.m. appointment?
Consideration of approving the fiscal year 2019-2020 proposed budget.
Good morning, members of the board. Eric Earhart, County Administrator's Office. Before you have the recommended budget for 1920. As you know, county government is required by law to adopt a balanced budget every year before October 2nd. The first step in that process is this recommended budget. And the intent is to provide a spending plan as we go through July 1st until the fall. So for the last several years, your board has established priorities during a special board meeting held in January each year, and those priorities are what drives the creation of the recommended and ultimately the adopted budget. This year, those priorities, external priorities, are fire preparedness, land use, update ordinances in correlation with newly approved general plan, road improvements, vulnerable populations, and internally, employee development and county infrastructure. As we began to develop the budget for 1920, we requested that departments create a status quo budget. Our intent was to see what today's programs and services would cost at tomorrow's cost. During that time, we met with the revenue team to project what the 1920 general revenues would look like, and we are estimating approximately a $1 million increase for the next upcoming fiscal year, which is about just over 2%. However, state and federal revenues have continued to decrease while their mandated programs stay in place. As a result, the increase in general revenues is not enough to meet the anticipated cost for 2019-2020. After working with departments on their submitted status quo budgets, we were projecting about a $3.7 million deficit, and this does not include any additional programs and services that would be needed next year. So at the June 4th meeting, your board directed staff to come back with an interim recommended budget. And again, the intent was to establish the legally mandated spending plan to get us through until we get to the adopted budget later this fall. During this time, staff has already begun working with departments to start building that zero-based budget to bring back to your board to illustrate the mandated and non-mandated programs that are provided, as well as their associated cost. In regards to the recommended budget you see today, it was balanced with a number of actions. They're intended to be short-term solutions or short-term reductions, and those are the use of the 1819 projected fund balance. There will be no allocations for contingencies, no contributions to the reserves, reductions in the work comp liability, liability insurance, and leave liability. Essentially what that means is we will not be growing those funds as we traditionally have. There's been a hiring freeze put in place for general fund non-public safety positions, reduction in overtime. We've increased the vacancy factor from 2% to 5% for those agencies. Elimination of vehicle purchases, except for the sheriff's office, but that line item was reduced. Reduction in professional services, trainings and seminars, expendable equipment, and software. And as you know, the CAL FIRE contract, we actually ended up having to reduce that as well just to make the budget balance for this year. Let's see here. So at this time, before I get into the summary of changes for the 1819 adopt a budget. I'll give anybody a moment to recuse themselves if need be.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, because my wife is employed by the Public Defender's Office, I'm recusing myself from the board's consideration of the budget for that office.
Okay.
So before you have the budget detail reports for the Public Defender's Office as well as the newly created Conflict Counsel Division. The most notable changes within the Public Defender's Office is an increase in salaries. That is primarily due to the proposed increase in staffing or change in staffing. We are proposing to eliminate the office assistant as a part-time position that has been vacant. We've routinely had challenges filling that position. And with the increase in scope of the Public Defender's Office by adding the Conflict Division, there's a greater need for additional oversight or administrative assistance in that department. This position will allow more flexibility and capacity to bill back to the state for cases that come out of the prison system as well as dependency counsel. So while it is an increase in cost, we are anticipating an increase in revenue generated from that as well. Right now, as it stands, you have 4 attorneys in that office with no support staff, and we're looking at going up to 6 attorneys eventually with no support staff without this position. Am I missing anything? Oh, yeah, we also added the Conflict Division, which is different than last year. And within that budget, you also see an additional $60,000 that is for the 3rd level conflict. The creation of this new division, as well as the addition to the Public Defender's Office, is the increase in cost is equal to or less than what we were paying with the conflict contract in previous years, and has given us greater capacity as well.
Okay. Those are showing as vacant. Are they subject to the hiring freeze? Or are you planning on filling them?
We plan to fill these.
Okay, thank you.
So with that, I would ask your board for any questions, additional questions? Yeah. So a staff recommendation that your board approve the 2019-2020 recommended budget for Public Defender and Conflict Division, as well as the associated staffing changes.
Okay, any public comment on this item?
Well, I can appreciate the budget thing. I'm just concerned about paying an attorney a lot of money to be their own support staff, because support staff is a little bit cheaper. So that's my only concern.
Would you like to answer that?
Yeah, just to address that concern, that is why we are asking that we would increase the 0.5 FTE administrative assistant and create the 1.0. Also, you will see on the handout, the second handout that we gave you with all of the personnel, their budget also does include for them to have a legal assistant half-time for each of those conflict counsel. And the reason they can't share it because of the ethical wall that has to exist, they each have their own half-time legal assistant. Those are specific to those attorneys. However, the administrative assistant is for overall administration for the entire both divisions for the Public Defender's Office.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment on that? Okay, board questions? We need to vote this separately? Okay, that's what I thought. Any board questions?
Just a comment.
Okay.
A few questions I had that were answered. I think it's important for the public to know. Behavioral health, social services, that money's coming out of a general pot, or not from the general fund, but from another, not from the general fund. So my only concern was if we're in a hiring freeze, why would we be adding that position to the public defender? And I was thinking about it, and when you break it down, really, if we already had funded the half position and we're going to add, we're basically funding half of it to make it full-time. I get that, and we don't want attorneys doing clerical work. But I just want to make sure, and also the fact that they can be billing and receiving funds to help offset that half position. I'm just being very cautious moving forward that every time we come to these budget meetings, we aren't adding positions. And this one, in this sense, I was kind of against it, but I'm leaning more towards it because if it can fund itself and it's just a half position, I'm a little bit more in favor of that.
Go ahead.
Thank you, and you're correct. This would allow the work of someone who doesn't have to have the technical expertise and the law degree to not have to do that level of work, and that is always the right way to work. It gives us the most flexibility, allows them to focus on their casework rather than doing phone calls and organization of the office. The other thing is this is a follow-up. These two legal assistant positions and a conversion of that half-time to a full-time is part of what we said we would return to you with reorganization of the office as a whole as a result of adding in and bringing conflict counsel in-house.
And the conflict counsel is actually, we're anticipating saving money by bringing that in-house.
We hadn't actually anticipated, but I don't know if there'll be a savings, but there will be we won't spend more than what we did,
Okay.
and we will get more work. Meaning, in the past, the conflict counsel carried about 15% of the caseload that our employees carry. So we should have a much greater
Okay.
Flexibility and efficient use of their time.
Okay, thank you.
And that's, I think, what is really important for the public to understand is this is really going to increase the capacity, and that was one of the divisions where we had some very serious capacity issues.
Okay. Any public comment? Okay, looking for a motion.
Chairman, I move that we approve the budget for the Public Defender's Department.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Motion by Supervisor Gray. Second by Supervisor Brennan. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Nay? Any nays? And we have one recusal, so it's a 401 vote. Okay. Supervisor Campbell, if you're listening, come on back. He was listening. I love it when that happens.
I'm just reading your mind.
There you go. It's a very short story. Okay. Continue with your staff report.
As we continue, you see the chart that was provided. It shows the difference between the 2018 and 2019 adopted budget and the recommended budget for this fiscal year. Two notable changes you'll see is a reduction in the general fund of just over $1 million. That's primarily due to tree mortality projects that have been completed, and those grant funds have been expended. In the governmental funds, you'll see a significant decrease of about $40 million as well, or $41 million. Two major contributing factors is one is the Law and Justice Center, or the jail construction project. That was about $20 million. That was in last year's budget. That is not in this year's budget. And the second one is how we budget for road capital projects. Traditionally in the past, when we've budgeted for those projects, it's been the entire cost of the project, even though it spanned multiple fiscal years. So now we are budgeting for what we actually anticipate spending in that fiscal year, just to illustrate better to the public what we're actually going to accomplish in the fiscal year. So those two together primarily make up that $41 million reduction in the governmental funds. Next, talk about the changes in full-time employees. We've already discussed the general fund. When we talk about the road fund, we're requesting an additional public works admin, engineering tech, as well as for road maintenance, 3 road workers. This was actually approved by a resolution on April 16th by your board when we submitted the SB1 projects. We have received notification from the state that those projects and funding was approved, and so this just adds those into the allocations for next year. Behavioral health, there are several changes, mostly reductions of about 5.3 employees. And through that, we're also increasing. The one increase is a 0.2 increase in behavioral health worker clinician, and that is for the Juvenile Justice Center as well. Social services, we see about a 5 FTE increase. And again, these are all funds that do not come out of the general fund. This is either grant funds, state money, or charges back for services as well. Columbia Airport, other things to consider is Columbia Airport. there was some construction out there, and through the process, the contractor identified need to repave Industrial Drive. The adjacent parking lot also is in need of repair as well. The estimated cost for that is about $50,000, and we're asking that we remove that $50,000 from the Columbia Airport fund balance and put it into the capital budget to potentially replace that or repair that parking lot as well. For behavioral health, they need a fee schedule published. That fee schedule is attached in attachment C. As you'll see, this is California's state mental health plan provides that mental health services are to be paid at the lowest cost or customary charges, which is consistent with the federal Medicare rules. The state has implemented such provisions in the California Code of Regulations and its cost reporting instructions. The state equates customary charges with published charges, so that list of charges is listed in attachment C. So as we move forward and continue to work with departments, we're shortening the time span we have to create savings for this next upcoming fiscal year. One option your board has is in each, and if two of the MOUs, you have the ability to impose furloughs. Those furloughs would save us about $270,000, reducing the impact that we will see in September. If you were to impose those furloughs, employees impacted would see a reduction of about 1.54 hours each pay period in their checks, but they would accrue leave at the same rate. And traditionally what we've done is around Christmas, we've closed county offices, the ones that we could close, to allow people to take time off during that period. And so this year, if you were to close around Christmas, that would give them 3 days off, leaving an additional 24 hours. We would work with departments to make sure that they get that time off. And again, that would impact general fund, non-public safety and positions, primarily with OE3, management, and traditionally the executive group as well as elected officials have voluntarily participated in that program, and that's a discussion we'll have to have with them. So that is one option your board has to help reduce the impact that we'll see in September. So it is recommended that your board approve the fiscal year 2019-20 recommended budget as presented, approve all associated staffing changes, authorize the CAO to approve acquisitions of fixed assets and capital projects prior to the final budget hearing in September, and approve the fiscal year 19-20 Tuolumne County Behavioral Health fee schedule.
Okay. I didn't want to interrupt you while you were on a roll. So.
Okay.
But I do want to highlight one thing for the public, and that is that the recommended increase of 3 people in our roads department is a result of SB1 funding coming our way and the ability to do more work on our roads, and hence the need for additional manpower to do that. So this is not really, this is funded by your SB1 dollars. So like taxes or not, at least we got some money out of it. So I just wanted to highlight that particular thing. At this time, before I open it up to the board, I'd ask for any public comment. Okay, seeing none.
Oh, here comes one.
Ooh.
You really think I would not talk?
No.
Good.
I was hoping I could get through fast. No, it doesn't.
Too fast.
Good.
My name's Debbie Batista, and I'm the County Auditor Controller, and I actually want to speak on 2 things, and one is the furloughs. What's different if we furlough employees this time is we're only furloughing general fund employees. So therefore, in prior years, when we closed down all the buildings, we're not going to close down all the buildings. I don't know that we can force employees to take time off in December if they don't have accruals. And so I think we're just talking about general fund employees. And those of us that are service departments won't be able to close down either, because the schools will be coming here with deposits for this building. We'll need the mail room for all of the departments to have the mail. We never come close to the money that we say we're going to save, because we have all the exceptions. We have All the grant positions, we don't furlough. We have people who are leaving, we don't furlough. We ask employees if they tell us in the next 18 months, not 12 months, 18 months, that they're going to retire. We don't furlough them because we don't want to harm their retirement. We're coming up with a whole new world in September. We're not sure what programs are going to be in here. So if you still want to do the furloughs, what I would request is we wait till September. There would be 20 payrolls. I mean, I'd rather you not do it at all because this is a lot of work for my office. We need to maintain schedules on all employees. We have to key in those furlough hours every single payroll. We have to reconcile anybody who leaves or comes. We have to deal with the people who in the middle decide they want to retire. It's a lot of work, and we're trying to put in a new system. So not only are we going to have to put in furloughs in PeopleSoft, which works because we know how to make it work, we're going to have to make sure that it works in one solution, and that'll be another function my staff is going to have to deal with this new system. So I would prefer not to do furloughs. Again, we don't save anywhere near the money that we always say we're going to save. But number two, if we really do want to use that tool to save some money, I would request we wait till September when we see what the new world is going to look like. So if we do have layoffs, we're not having to reconcile all those people, report them all back to PERS, and make a lot of work for my office. If we wait till September 18th, I think is the date that we want to do the final budget hearing, that would leave 20 payrolls, which means each general fund employee would lose 2 hours of payroll instead of the 1.54. But it would be a lot cleaner when we know where we really are going to be with whatever departments, programs, or functions we're going to be in September. So if we could kind of put that on the table till September, that would be nice. It's not in this, I don't believe it's in any of these calculations, so it's not going to harm the recommended budget that you're looking at. It just would make life easier for my department.
Question for Tracy. We don't have those furloughs in this recommended budget, as I understand
We
it.
did not put the savings in here. It's
Okay.
just, as we were saying, we are going full cost for 3 months. Whatever we do in this 3 months, we will have to make up. It's just a way for us to make up part of those costs. And like Deb said, we could do September, we can do July, or we could not do it at all, but it is an option.
Well, I think the time to do that is when we know as much as we possibly can know. And if it's not affecting this proposed budget, then it's really not an issue.
Okay. You said
that's-
two things.
Here's number two. I think
Before
we
you start, I have one more question on that. So what would be the savings between now and September if we were to go ahead? Like, what would be the cost difference?
What I'm proposing is we're not going to change the savings. If you do the 2 hours in September, you're going to get the same 40 hours per employee. The savings the same.
So rather than the 1.54, it'd be 2 by September, and then it'd be total net savings would be the same.
Mm-hmm. It would be 20 payrolls for the employee versus 26.
Okay, thank you.
Or don't do it at all. What I think that we really need to make sure that everybody understands is that what's in front of you is a balanced budget that has at least $3.7 million of expenditures not in it that we will spend, and a lot of one-time savings, all of the deductions in the mandated costs. And, I was with the team that said we should do this. I'm not saying that this is bad. I'm just saying that this budget in front of you has some major issues with it, and it has a really deep hole. When you look at the schedule, it says that the difference between the 1920 and the 1819 is really $1 million difference positive. It's not. You need to add that 3.7 back in plus more, because there's other things not in this budget too. In September, you all and we all are going to have a major challenge to reorganize this entity so that it functions and that we're not back here every single year with all these problems. And if the majority of the savings are short-term, reductions in mandated costs, furloughs, lowering the contingencies, all we're doing is waiting for next year to happen so that we'll have even a deeper hole. We already know that next year's PERS is at least $1 million greater than this year's PERS in the general fund. And all I can guarantee you is when I get the report in October, that $1 million will be higher than $1 million, because every single year the number changes and the number increases. This is the fixed cost. It also appears that the employer share percentage may go up with PERS in a little bit. All of these costs, plus we have studies, we have some MOUs with employees that all go into effect next June. That is probably at least $1 to $2 million that we're already behind. I don't know about you all, but I'm really tired of doing this, and I'm really tired of saying we have a problem. I am really excited that for once we're really going to take action and do it differently. But I just want everybody to understand this action is not going to be easy. It's going to be hard, and it's going to affect people's lives in a detrimental way. So with that, I'm done.
Thank you. And I'll just comment that if we don't do it this year, it will be much worse next year, and eventually it will be impossible. So that was the intent, and I don't think anybody sitting up here thinks that we're just going to slide into September. There is going to be some significant pain. We should have done this 2 or 3 years ago. That's
Good news is we're doing it now.
We're doing it now.
Moving on.
So, okay. More public comment.
Good morning again, David Goldenberg. So I guess I'm maybe a little confused. The $3.7 million is not accounted for in this proposed budget, or?
What Deb was highlighting was exactly what we talked about during the last board meeting and then this one. What you have, what this incorporates, this is a balanced budget it is a 3-month spending plan. This is not what we expect to do for the whole year. So the 3.7 is in here, but it's not, when I say it's not real, we have to go through this restructuring so that we make permanent reductions. We have balanced this budget in all the ways that Deb outlined, and it's in our memo. There's no contingencies. We've done higher vacancy factors. We are doing, I don't even have that in front of me. We didn't do the reserves. So equipment has been lowered, overtime has been lowered. So the ways that we have balanced this budget is just to give us a 3-month spending plan. This is not a 1-year spending plan. This allows us to get into, and actually it won't be in September you'll be deciding. You'll be deciding in August when we go through a series of budget study sessions, and we will spend a lot of time presenting to your board so that we are very transparent as well. I think this will be a great educational opportunity for the board, our staff, and our community while we go through this. But it is incorporated in here, but when I say they're not real, we could never operate a full year based on how this budget is put together. It is put together to go for 3 months and 3 months only.
Okay, excuse me. So that said, at the September meeting is when it's planned to have an actual proposal for the entire fiscal year for 1920?
Right. So in August, as I stated, we'll start doing some budget study sessions with the board. Those will be public sessions where we'll be talking about all of the services, both mandated and not, and then whatever direction the board provides to us about reductions, eliminations, or changes, we will incorporate and bring a balanced budget by September 18th. So September 18th is the second board meeting in
Okay.
September.
You know, it's just, you know, for several board meetings now, and again today it was mentioned, you know, that there's been issues, you know, that the time has come, we've been kicking the can down the road. You know, I just got to wonder, you know, what's happened the last 6, 8, 10 years? You know, if we're recognizing and stating that these things have happened, and we've got these shortfalls, it's just not, why isn't, everybody's saying that there was issues in the past, but nothing long-term planning was taken to address them. And so we're in the position we are now with drastic cuts.
Some of us have been saying it for a number of years. Okay?
Well, this board is charged with, as a board, to deal with it and address with it, not.
We are dealing with it, sir.
And I really want the public to recognize, and hoping that they will really, as we go through this process, participate. I've had an awful lot of feedback, and people are actually expressing a lot of gratitude that we're going through this process because, again, as Eric stated, while we've had some continued increase in revenues, those revenues had not kept up with what is mandated by the state of California, and they don't pay for those services. So we have seen a tremendous amount of realignment and programs being tasked to the county, and there has not been an accompanying revenue source to do those programs. So as we go through this process, we're going to really all have an opportunity to share with the public what is mandated by the federal and state government, and then we will see what revenues come along with that. It's going to be an incredibly transparent process, and again, it's something that I think is going to be very informative for the general public, and I'm hoping that they are going to be participating, watching.
And I want to add that, when you set up here, the thing that you want to do is you want to provide the best possible service to the public that you can. We have looked at issues about closing recreation, closing the libraries. Those things are hard choices that the public doesn't really buy into. We might be a point in time where that has to happen. It's every year it changes. The idea that we start off with the year thinking that we're going to have the funds available to do certain things and find out towards the end of the year they may not be there, and we've always taken a position that we've tried to put money in to retire our debt. Very important. We're right now on this particular budget, we're not going to show any retirement in debt on this first 3 months. So it's not simple. If you set up here, you'll find that it is very hard to make those decisions to take away services from the people, and that's where it hits the road. You have to do that sometimes, and it's not easy.
Understand that it's not easy, and I'm not suggesting that it is, and any cuts are painful. Okay. The long-term debt is huge. I understand it's $1.6 million a year on the payments on the bond debt. That's incredible. That's a big part of this budget. Yeah, just basically the county has got to quit living paycheck to paycheck. That's essentially that long-term debt is like a payday loan,
Sure.
And we need those reserves.
Sir, that's what we're doing. Okay, thank you for your comments. You have more?
No, I don't have more, but
okay.
I don't
Thank
know
you.
that you're welcome.
Thank you.
Morning, Daniel Richardson with the General Services Agency. It's summertime, and our summer recreation program is one of those that's caught up in the budget discussions. We provide this annual summer service where we offer, we'll call it daycare for children between the ages of 6 to 14. Parents can drop off their kids as early as 7:30 and pick them up at the end of their workday at 5:30. We host this program, Recreation Department does, at one of the elementary schools each year. We've reached out to every public elementary school in the county, and it's been a unanimous, we cannot host you due to a variety of issues. Construction projects is typically the main issue, or they have competing programs such as the PM program, or we've even reached out to some of the Christian schools out there, and they have Bible camps or things like that where their facilities are not available. This is unfortunate that we're at this point. The only facility that's available to us is Sonora Union High School has offered up Casina, but unfortunately the price is significantly higher. We're used to paying $1,500 to use physical facilities at an elementary school, and the Casina price is almost $14,000, and we do not have that in our budget for this fiscal year. And so we're at a conundrum right now. Our revenue is about $21,000 that we receive, and the cost to run this program without the higher Casina High one is about $50,000. So we don't make money. This is a service that we provide to the county, but with the ratcheted up cost, if we were to go to Casina, we do not have that in the recreation budget. So we're just approaching the board right now. We know this is a challenging budget, but we're looking for your thoughts on, do we allocate additional money to have this program hosted at Casina High, or do you have any thoughts that we may not have come up with in terms of locations and a way we can provide this service?
Well, my thoughts are you're going to have to live within your budget.
Okay.
Yeah, if we've exhausted the resources, you look at the cost per child, if you add that additional in there, and it's not in the budget, how can we provide the service? It's one of those that I think that we're just going to have to not do.
Okay.
Is Casina High aware, or Sonora High aware, that they're our last option and there's no wiggle room as far as a reasonable cost?
Reality is they were not our last option. They were one of our early options because they offered. We've had other options that canceled due to our construction project's bigger than we thought. We even looked at the Sullivan Creek campus. That didn't work out. We've called all over the place.
I mean, as a parent of young kids, I know there's need in this community. Have we reached out to churches? Would that be an option to maybe live within our means but utilize maybe some of their space? Has that been discussed?
Yeah, the challenge is we are there every day, Monday through Thursday, from 7:30 to 5:30.
Yeah. So I think we're all on the same tune. This is where the rubber meets the road.
Yep.
And so we're starting down that path right now where if we don't have the funds, we can't provide the services. And I think if we do our due diligence to provide this, it's great. But this is where we talk about things aren't going to be easy and we're up here to make decisions. And so I agree with Carl. We got to live within our means. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's what we got to do.
I'm going to pass out a memo for your information that describes the process we've gone through in case constituents do call you. So.
Okay. You might circle back with the schools and make sure that there's not some accommodation that we can make with them. But if it's, we worked hard to get to where we are today for the next 3 months. I don't think we can upset the apple cart and spill all the peaches. So.
Along with that, I think if it's within the budget, it's something that we can do. That's your challenge.
Okay.
And have you talked to Superintendent Parker?
I did. I've been emailing her back and forth, and she's made another suggestion that I'm following up on of a Motherhood Christian school. That's one we hadn't addressed specifically, but every other campus, all public schools, we have called, but that's the only one that we have not.
This is a good example of a challenge for our leadership team. I mean, we've got to figure out how to do things within our budget.
Yep.
So.
I just have a question. How many students? It's about 140 children take advantage of this, or how many would you say in total?
Yeah, we have about 140 on our waiting list right now, and the parents are calling us, and they want an answer, and so we've been trying to find a solution.
Are we at the end of the road there? I mean, it doesn't sound like we've quite exhausted all the options.
We've called every public elementary school. There's one, like I said, there's one Christian school that we have not called, but typically they have summer events that take place on their campuses, and they're not available all summer long for us. Whereas elementary schools we know are available.
It's just frustrating because, we're talking about, deficits in the multi-million dollars, and we can't find $14,000 to, maintain a program for the people that really need it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a solution. We set budgets for a reason, but I don't know. How much time do we have to work on this?
Oh, we've been working on it since before January. Yeah. This is not we just started working last week.
Daniel, when does the program start?
The program was supposed to start yesterday. So we've been putting off the parents saying, we're still looking, and we need to make a call and to say it's going to happen or it's not going to happen.
Could we piggyback and reach out to some of our local churches just as a question? I mean, give them the chance to respond, and then I'm thinking long term, if we build these centers, Tuolumne City, Groveland, maybe we could use the resilient centers for something down the road.
Well, that's what we've heard from the public. The county needs a community center of some sort to run this program in the future. What
about Memorial Hall?
That is booked up all summer long by Tuolumne Park and Recreation District programs. It's
Daniel,
a challenge.
You did call the Adventist?
Yes, we did call Adventist.
Yes.
Yeah, they have a wonderful campus.
I think Cannon had something to add to it.
Canaan doesn't have anything to add. Okay. This, again, for the public, we have to do this budget drill that we're doing. Again, there's a lot of questions why we haven't done it before. Probably the answer is because it's very, very hard, and it's very, very painful. This is an example. We are not, as a government, going to be able to provide all of the services that we have provided in the past, okay? That is a reality. And the choices on which services will survive and which will not is going to be very, very difficult. But I can pretty much assure you that we will not be doing everything at the same level that we have done it before. I'm not saying we're going to wholesale walk away from something like libraries or rec. That seems to be the one that everybody always talks about every year. But maybe the level of those services is going to go down, and maybe other services levels are going to go down. This is not going to be pleasant, but it is necessary. So, Daniel, I'd keep working the problem.
Yes,
I don't know what else. I don't have anything else to offer. So
just want to make you aware, and we'll continue to work in the program. I think we'll have to make a call if we don't have something by next Monday. We need to let parents know you need to make other plans for your children.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Other public comment?
Good morning. Kathleen Half, Public Citizen. And I just had a question regarding the mandated costs and the remuneration not keeping up with the mandated costs. I assume they're both state and federal mandated costs, or are they mostly state?
Both.
Okay. Well, as far as the state goes, I'm just curious as to what you or staff has done to work at the state level to find out if there are ways to get those mandated costs covered.
We work that through CSAC, through RCRC. Right. I work it through NACO. This is not a Tuolumne County problem.
Right.
Okay, it is a statewide problem. They have their own budget that they work, and it is a habit pattern. That is a long-term habit pattern by both the state and the federal government. We're fighting for PILT and SRS funding every single year. and it has gone down over time. That's at the national level, just as an example. Our Health and Human Services department is entirely funded by state and federal dollars, and their budget has been slowly decreasing as a function of the in terms of real spending power, has been decreasing as a function of the mandated costs that they're required to do. Yes, we do fight for that, but we are not 100% successful.
So I do understand all that you said. Looking from a public perspective, and maybe you can expound on this, we see that the state budget has quite a surplus, and I'm not really quite understanding how the counties can't band together and rebel a little bit about these mandated costs not being covered.
Well, we do. Again, they make the decisions, we don't. But we have been lobbying for this every year that I've been in this office. And I think John's the only one that's been here longer. You want to comment?
It's something we do continuously. Staff is engaged. I don't know how many trips to Sacramento that staff has made in the last 11 years, but I bet it's in the hundreds. Our lobbying groups, RCRC, as Carl mentioned, also CSAC, continues to press the issue. It is not right that the state's sitting on a $14 billion excess and not filtering it down to the county level. We're going to hear something on AB 109 here a little bit later, and I think I read yesterday that there is additional funds that have come forward with that. But we keep getting saddled with more costs. We have more prisoners that in county jails that don't belong in county jails. They belong in prison. I don't know what the cost is per day, but it's $100 and something a day not too many years ago, and I bet it's gone up. We don't get relief from that. So, and that's a general fund cost. Public safety is general fund. So it's not for lack of effort. I know that we beat a path. I know that we have good responses from our legislators. You can call them up on the cell phone. They will listen to you, but they can only do so much. And I don't have an answer other than I know we don't give up. I know we fight hard, and that's what we have to do.
CAO, you want to respond from a staff perspective?
Yes, so Kathleen, you know this drill well. You've done it yourself. So yes, we do continue. We were just actually met with RCRC, and they pulled in a representative about the juvenile hall costs and talking about maybe going more to a cost report-based system because it's more of a treatment center now than incarceration. So we're having those conversations. We continue to talk about the public safety reform and those implications that it has on the general fund. And then at the CAO level, we have several work groups that we are doing and writing up some white papers for our supervisors and to take to their at the higher levels so that we can begin working as well. So as you know, it's never fast. It takes time, but we are working together. We're working together, be it at the board level and then at the CAO level and staff level with our representatives at both the state and federal level as well. I know there's a lot of levels there. But we're all working it. It just takes time, and I think that they are feeling some of that pressure. We've talked about this recently with every time we see reform or realignment, you've been through this, all that means is that the state pushes those costs down to the local level. And that is why we see a surplus at the state level now, when they're not having to foot the bill for all of the inmates because we are taking on more of those inmates and all of those cascading costs such as medical care. It creates an ability for them to have a surplus, and it creates issues at the local level. So we are having those conversations, and they're happening a little more animated now, but it will take time. It's not anything we're going to see right away, and I know you know that. You've helped push legislation through in the past when you were in the office.
Supervisor Brennan.
So I really appreciate Ms. Riggs's comments there, because we were up in Sacramento last week with RCRC discussing some of these very issues, and it is through that organization. When we remember that we have an assemblyman that represents, I believe, 13 counties, and then you take an LA county and they have the exact inverse representation, with 13 assemblymen there. Those organizations help us because they know who to approach, and this is not a Tuolumne County issue. This is it's across the rural county spectrum, and so we are working those very proactively, and it is going to be through the assistance of those collaborative conversations where we're going to make some headway.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think this discussion was valuable for the public to know.
Thank you very much.
I was just going to add to that, ma'am, something that you had said about rebelling. We're going to go through this this budget process, and one of the things we're going to look at mandated versus what isn't mandated. Maybe look at cutting what's not mandated. But personally, I agree with you. Something and that I've brought up before is once we're done with that process, maybe this will be sometime next year, later at the end of this year. I do want to look at what's mandated, and if we're not getting the resources we need to do those mandates, I personally want to know what my liability is as a supervisor not following out some of those mandates, because it's ridiculous to, and this might be a little naive, but I don't care. I want to look at those and go down that path and look at maybe what's mandated, but maybe we're not going to flip the bill and do that and see what the liability would be to that. So Tracy's probably shaking her head like, oh boy. But that's something I'm interested in personally in looking into.
I'm just looking at Christopher Schmidt's face for any reaction, and
Right?
I don't see one.
I've always been the problem child.
He's a good trial lawyer.
Thank you.
I'm going to chime in here also, and with respect to the other board members, I have to just come right out and say that we're not doing enough to lobby the state. RCRC is not doing enough. CSAC is not doing enough to advocate for counties, especially rural counties like ours. If we can't afford $14,000 for after-school programs for kids, then something's missing and something's wrong, and we are not getting enough attention to rural counties. It's time to start getting angry, I think. And you say rebel a little bit, that can be a good thing. It's important to maintain good relationships between different agencies, state level, county level, but something has to change. I mean, when we see massive statewide surpluses, and yet counties, not just ours, lots of rural counties up and down the state are in the same situation where we're going to go through a really hard process over the next 3 months. They need to be aware of that. And I certainly hope they are, and if they're not, we need to yell and scream until they are aware. So thank you very much for your comments. I agree completely, and I think we could do more.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Supervisor Kirk, you're echoing what Supervisor Rice said for at least the past 2 years. I think we should have a discussion about some salaries in this county, because we're pretty top-heavy on some salaries, and one item is coming up later on your agenda. And I appreciate that, Tracy Riggs wasn't greedy when she asked for her salary, but there are some people working at a lower level than her that make $100,000 more a year than she does. And I see some of the, I don't want to call them little people, but the lesser paid in the county, and they go for the free breakfast because they can't afford to feed their children breakfast. And your housekeepers, some of them have 3 jobs so they can make a living. So maybe we should look for a little bit more equitable salary sometime too.
Thank you. Seeing no more public comment, bring it back to the board for your pleasure.
So there was a lot said. Are we going to move forward with not doing the furloughs until September? Do we agree on that?
As I said, I'll bring it back to the board for your pleasure.
I recommend that we would maybe haul off till September so we have a bigger picture. I'm cool with that. I really want Daniel to pick up every single rock and see what we can do to get those after-school programs going between now and Monday. It'd be a real shame to let that go, but And then just kind of to piggyback, Ryan, how you said we need to do more, maybe we could send a letter as we go through this budget process to our legislators, to RCRC, to CSAC, let them know what process we're going down and why we're going down that road. Let them at least understand what we're doing. And then also just something that came to mind too, that wherever people stand on the state of Jefferson, and this is off topic, but there's a reason why that movement is happening, because we have no representation at the state level. We will always be in this state level as long as we don't have any representation at the state level. So we'll continue to go down this road. Those are my. If there's anything else I can think of, I'll come back. But that's
any
okay.
other supervisor want to comment on anything?
No, I'm just ready to make a motion when you
Okay,
are, and I would
go
invite
ahead.
Supervisor Ryan to attend any RCRC board and see what actually is going on up there, because
I think that is a really good idea, so that, other board members can have an understanding what actually goes on.
Right, any board member is welcome to attend.
Because it's really not as silent as it maybe have been presented. There's a lot going on with RCRC, more so than CSAC, I believe, at times, and NACO. But because supervisors are new, I think it's important that you tag along and go with the representatives to CSAC. I would be happy to give up my alternate position to anyone that would like to tag along, because I've been there, I've seen the action, and there's a lot going on.
Yeah, let me comment on that too, because I want the public to understand. We keep talking about RCRC, that's Rural Counties Representatives of California. CSAC is the California State Association of Counties, and NACO is the National Association of Counties. RCRC is for rural counties, is a better advocate than CSAC is, because CSAC, the representation on their board reflects the population of California, which is much more urban than rural. So I won't say we get overrun, but we get outvoted sometimes on important issues. And usually that's not that they're going to push something that we don't agree with. CSAC tends to be more normative, okay? So they just won't support something we want supported. But RCRC is really active in the legislature for rural counties. The reality is that if you add up all the representatives for all the counties in RCRC, we aren't a majority in the state legislature. State legislature is owned and operated by the large urban counties. NACO, interestingly enough, just for public information, NACO is more RCRC-like than CSAC, because NACO is represented by counties, and a vast majority of the counties in the United States are rural counties. Now, they're not all look-alike rural counties for our rural counties, but it is much more of a rural representation than is something like CSAC. So, but I got to give, I've been working in all three of those for the 6 years I've been here. And again, it's a lobbying exercise. You don't win even close to half of what you go fight for today, but eventually you wear them down. And people need to understand who really controls the state of California in particular, and that is Los Angeles County, City and County of San Francisco. And they really do. And that's a reality that we have to deal with. I don't like it. I will keep fighting it. I have been fighting it for 6 years, as have every board member up here that's been around that long. But it's a constant struggle, and you win little ones most of the time. Every now and then you win a big one, and you go have a big party, okay? But it's a tough road to hoe. So anyway, having said that, and I would echo for our new supervisors, get involved with these organizations, okay? And you'll see both sides of it. You'll see the stuff that they are doing well for us, and you'll see why they're not doing well for us. You'll see the political infighting that goes on.
Well, I'd certainly be happy to work with, to take Supervisor Brennan up on her offer to work with RCRC. And I'm not trying to disparage any of those agencies. I know that they're doing a lot of work for us, but I'm saying that we as a body are not doing enough, and the evidence is right here in our budget. And whatever we have to do to raise hell about these issues that we're not meeting the basic needs of our community, we have to do it.
Okay, and to do that, you got to get outside of the county. And you got to go to Sacramento.
That's why
and work.
I go to Sacramento frequently. So
okay.
I need to say one more thing before you guys are done.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but this is really annoying me. This $14,000 for this. Eric, you said, or Daniel, you said this was supposed to start yesterday? I mean, it's to pull the rug out from under these parents' feet right now is just ridiculous. Some people got, I'm sure, family vacations planned. They have their jobs dependent on maybe some of these kids. Is that the case with some of these people? Yeah? So I think the right thing to do wouldn't be to pull the rug out from under their feet. I think the right thing to do is, if we can't fund this, is to say we can't fund this next year or moving forward in the following budget. I think to be a day after, just for me, isn't sitting well. I don't feel good about it. If that means we have to not hire that attorney secretary for 3 more months to offset the costs, I'm fine with taking the cut somewhere else. But this is affecting people's lives as of yesterday, and I'm going to recommend that we find the money. Well, first, I want you to still unturn every single rock you can, but I don't like this. So I would rather take the money from somewhere else, fund it one way or another, see if we can get it cheaper. And then if we can't put it in next year's budget, I'd rather do that. Again, I don't want to beat this horse to death, but this is affecting people's lives, and people were planning on this, correct? So I'm kind of going against my own philosophy of budgeting, but
that's the problem with budgeting.
Right.
What happens when we get back
but
to the real world?
To do this a day after doesn't feel, it's not the right thing to do. So I would suggest that we don't do that public defender office assistant until
we've known
It's
this.
clear that the board's already taken action on
Yes.
public defender items, and that this should exclude that.
And I will also say that we have known about this longer than today. We have been working this since January.
I haven't heard this.
Okay, and if it was a problem, it should have been brought forward earlier.
I agree with Supervisor Kirk's sentiments. I think we should try to find the money elsewhere in the budget. And I don't know what we have to do that. But
and if this is an issue with bringing it up before the board,
I agree completely with your sentiments that it doesn't sit right with me either.
So you would need the majority of the board to direct us to do that. That's what you would need.
So I'll go ahead with that, but I just want to make a point. This is where we have the issues when we get down to the nitty-gritty of why we don't get to a level of things that we can afford. But I'm going to be one to just ask. It's an ask if you could do it. I know that we're not even going to be able to probably open the Groveland Youth Center this year. You know,
Okay.
That's bad, and that's not because we don't have programs available. We can't find the staffing to do it. So these are hard decisions, and when it affects the kids and everything, it's
Okay. We're not going to sit here and find $14,000, okay? We're not going to do that. That's going to take staff action. It's going to take a whole bunch of stuff, okay? we can approve the budget that's before us and direct staff to do what they can to try and find a way to do this. But I will not vote to take $14,000 from somewhere else right now so that we can open this thing up. I'm not going to do that, okay? Or we will be doing that. That is how we got to where we got, and I've been fighting against that all the way along, okay? We have to be fiscally responsible, and I understand the pain that this is going to cause. But if we keep caving every time we see pain for our constituents, we will never get there.
Well said.
Hey, Carl.
Yeah.
Chair Carl, I completely agree with you. But part of this is fiscally responsible. We need to be responsible for, because this is the first time I've heard this. It hasn't been brought up. I'll make it public. I'm completely fine with cutting every single one of these programs. I'm fine with that. But I want to do it in the right order, not the day after a program's supposed to open and pull the rug out from underneath it. Moving forward, I've been preaching it since campaigning. I've talked about cutting mandates. I have no problem cutting things. I just don't want to do it. I feel like it's an irresponsible way to make those cuts. So I just want to make that clear. Moving forward, no problem making cuts, but I want to do it in a responsible manner.
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree with those sentiments. In my mind, what this Parks and Recreation situation indicates is irresponsible budgeting elsewhere within the budget. That we should be able to absorb a cost like this that's relatively small, given the size of our total budget, without this much difficulty.
How much under, I'll call it, how much underfunded would you estimate the average department is in this budget?
It depends on the budget. I can't give you a number. We
Okay.
know that everyone is over budget, so
Is it more than $14,000?
on average that they're under, or that we need
That-
to reduce by?
That they're not going to be able to do their job the way they've been doing it?
By 14,000?
Yes.
There are some that could be, some of your smaller departments, such as maybe your assessor, someone like that, who's already reduced over the years. This would be something that could help them, yes.
Okay, I'm just saying, let me rephrase it. Could virtually every department in this county use $14,000 to better do their budget?
Of course they could.
Okay. So now I get that 14,000 is a big portion of recreation. But the point is, we're asking every single department to skinny down through September until we can make some very, very difficult decisions. I'm willing to direct staff to continue to work the problem and try and find a fix, but I'm not willing to tell the CAO to take $14,000 from another department to fix it.
So just to be clear, that most of this cost would be probably in your current year budget. The cost for this program goes over 2 fiscal years. But in order to rent that program, and I'd have to get Daniel up here to see if it's in 1819 or 1920, but it's a 2-year problem. What this does affect, if that cost of additional $13,000 or $14,000 were to come out of this year, you would reduce your fund balance because we'd have to reduce contingencies or find it somewhere else, some savings somewhere else. That would then reduce your fund balance overall going into next year. So it just adds adds to our deficit by $14,000 if we were to do that. And I'd have to ask exactly where it sits, but it is a program. Of course it is. When it's in the summer, it goes over 2 fiscal years because it will start in June, as he already mentioned, and you will go into your summer months.
We're June 18th, okay? If we started it tomorrow, it would only be a half a month in this year, and the lion's share of it would be in next year. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, typically, we do pay in August the full rent amount, so it would be a fiscal year 1920 issue. Yeah.
Okay. Looking for a motion?
I'll just say before we move on this that I certainly hope that we are going to apply these same standards to all departments if we're going to be this strict over this program, as we do with every department that falls under this restructuring plan that we're following.
Well, I intend to. I can only speak for myself.
It's the way it works.
Still looking for a motion. You were going to make a motion, Supervisor Brennan? Or you,
Yeah, and I would move on staff recommendation, I believe it's pulling it up, 1 through 4, with caveat of looking both to our external partners and just because of the timing, to find the $14,000 for the recreation program.
Second.
okay. And so I've got a motion by Supervisor Brennan, a second by Supervisor Gray. Before I ask for a vote, is that, do you understand the caveat?
To make sure, are you asking us to find the 14,000 within our budget, or are you just continue working the problem and look externally to see if we can mitigate this actions that we would have to take? To make sure that, so I know for sure where we're going.
Continue working the problem, and I believe there's answers out there that we can find. So,
But
externally, yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
And I can agree to that, again, with the caveat that we apply this equally across all departments as we go forward.
Okay.
And I agree, and just kind of let this be a signal. I don't want any last minute pinches like this. I don't want to be put in another position like this where we're behind the 8 ball on stuff like this. Because moving forward, I am okay with cuts, like I explained myself. So for department heads moving forward as we go through this process, I don't want to have to be put in this type of situation again.
So make a point of clarification, please, Supervisor Roderfer.
Yep.
Just so everyone knows, and I've spent time with both Daniel and Mo, and in the history of our recreation program, this has never happened. The schools have always opened up their facilities to us. So, as you know, I've reached out to each of you that this was taking place. We were doing everything that we can. And I know that Daniel and Eric have both reached out to some of the churches because of the vacation Bible schools. That's difficult for them. I just want to make sure that you understand that this has never happened. So anticipating, and we talk about worst case scenario, we could go to another school in the past. And right now we have all schools telling us no. And that's frustrating. Last year we had, or maybe it was the year before, the issue we had was when the Sonora High pool was refinished, they increased their prices significantly in order for us to rent those pools, and we absorbed those. But we are in a place now where I'm really coming to your board to say, what is it you want us to absorb as we go through this process? And that's why we've brought this to your attention.
Before I call for the vote, I think it would be useful to have at the appropriate point in the future to have a board workshop on prioritizing the services that we provide to the county. Okay? Because it's easy to look at something like this, and it is very painful. It's not very expensive in the grand scheme of things. I mean, none of us would like to get a bill in the mail for $14,000, but in the grand scheme of budgeting, government budgeting, it's not a big deal. But, and I'm not criticizing Daniel at all, but Daniel comes up here. Every single department head has programs, okay? We could be here all day listening to wailing and gnashing of teeth on programs that we provide to our community. So I think early on in this process, as we go into September, that we sit down and we talk about the various programs and what are most near and dear, if we can agree to those, okay, and have some kind of a priority so you've got something to work with as we make, because we are going to, I can't say it strongly enough, we are going to have to cut either in part or in whole programs that we provide to services that we provide to our public. There's no two ways around it. So anyway, having said that, I'll go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? It's 5-0. Thank you very much. And we're going to take a 10-minute recess. Yeah.
Couldn't agree with you, right? So the limits road, we need to cut it. Why the hell was it brought up the day after the program started? Why wasn't this cut 2 months ago?
I knew about it 2 weeks ago.
I never, this is the first
And I've already reached out to my wife, who's the president of the board at Columbia. Hey, going to reconvene the Board of Supervisors. Would the clerk of the board please read item number 15? And if the public's trying to follow along, we're going to do some jumping around on our schedule today. So, item 15.
This is consideration of approving amendments to the first and second level conflict of public defender services agreement.
Chairman Rodefer, because my lovely wife is employed by the Public Defender's Office, I again am recusing myself from consideration of the next 2 items on the agenda.
Okay, and she is lovely, so.
All right, hello again. Eric Hart, County Administrator's Office. In March of 2017, Tuolumne County entered into an agreement with attorneys David Beiersdorf, Clint Parrish, and Scott Gross to provide first and second level conflict for indigent defense services. That contract doesn't expire until April of 2020. With the pending retirement of our public defender, we went out and advertised and ultimately interviewed candidates to become the new public defender for Tuolumne County, and your board ultimately approved Scott Gross to be the next Tuolumne County public defender. To make this appointment, that first and second level conflict counsel agreement must be amended to remove Scott Gross from that contract. It is recommended that your board approve Amendment 1 to the agreement for professional services for first and second level conflict public defender services to withdraw Mr. Scott Gross from his participation in that agreement.
Okay, are there any board questions? Public comment? Seeing none, bring it back to the board.
Move on staff recommendation.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 401, recusal. Okay. Item 16, please.
This is consideration of approving the employment agreement with Scott Gross to serve as the public defender.
Down here.
Okay.
Good morning, Tracy Riggs, County Administrator's Office. And today it was with great pleasure that we get to introduce to you our new public defender. And just to give a little bit of information before we do that. So earlier this year, Bob Price, the current public defender, notified us that of his intent to retire. He has worked for Tuolumne County for 26 years. At that point, we began recruiting for a new public defender. And on May 31st, your board held interviews for that public defender position. At the conclusion of those interviews, your board directed staff to extend a conditional offer employment for that position to Scott Gross. A little bit about Scott. Scott holds a Bachelor's of Science from California Polytechnic University and a Juris Doctorate from the Thomas Jefferson School of Law. He's also been one of the few people who have attended the prestigious Death Penalty College, so he has advanced training there. He also has extensive experience in both working in the Calaveras County Public Defender's Office. He also did work at Amador Conflict County office. And in addition to that, he has worked for our county representing some of our county residents here as a conflict attorney. One of the things I do want to talk about with Scott that I noticed when we did the panel interviews, and so everyone knows the process that we go through for all of our management and executive level employees, there's always 2 panel interviews. One is for technical, one is for fit. So for technical, we had attorneys on that one, and for fit, there would be a few other of our staff in there, and I was part of that panel. What I noticed when we interviewed the candidates, what stood out about Scott was his sincerity. He has an absolute passion and sincerity for the work that he does and those that he represents. He had a strategy that he told us about the employees in the very beginning in representation of his clients. And I personally look forward to working with Scott as he takes on this new position on July 1st. So his appointment would start July 1st. His starting salary would be at range 596, step C, which is $150,324 per year. We will be crediting his leave balance with 40 hours, so he has something to start out with, and that he would get all other benefits as outlined in the executive compensation plan. So with that said, I would ask that your board would approve the attached contract to your board memo, and then join me in welcoming Mr. Gross as our new public defender.
Okay, is there public comment? Okay, bring it back to the board.
So I'll move on staff recommendation.
Second, and welcome.
Okay. We've got a motion by Supervisor Brennan and a second by Supervisor Gray. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained. It is 4-0 with 1 abstention. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Roderfer. I appreciate the opportunity, the appointment. I also want to thank the CAO's office. We had to work very closely to make sure we get all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, but really looking forward to taking over the office on July 1st. I'm just looking for the keys. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and Supervisor Campbell is listening. He can come on back in. And since he's present, will the clerk of the board please read our closed session items?
Okay. So these are closed sessions. There's 4 of them. Conference with Rural Property Negotiators, Authority Government Code Section 54956.8 for several parcels located at the Jamestown Mine with APNs 58-230 and 58-210-66. Rural Property Negotiators are Daniel Richardson, General Services Director, and Eric Earhart as Assistant County Administrator. Closed session with it's conference with real property negotiators again, and it's the same authority, Government Code Section 54956.8. The property is APN 085050001 et al. Agency negotiators are Sarah Carrillo, Tracy Riggs. Other parties to negotiators is Ed Pattison, Jess Barton, Tom Johnson of TUD, Mike Scherher of PG&E. Under negotiations is price and terms of payment. Conference with involvement of Joint Power Agency, Tuolumne County Economic Development Authority, Government Code Section 54956.96. Discussion will concern anticipated litigation. Authority Government Code Section 54956.9D2. One case. County representatives of Tuolumne County Economic Development Authority Board, John Gray, Carl Roderfer. Also attending are Sarah Carrillo, Carlin Drovdahl, and Debbie Batista. And then the last one is closed session, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, Authority Government Code Section 54957.
That's it. Is there any public comment on any of the closed session items? Okay. Do we anticipate any reports out? I heard okay. Okay, so we are going to recess into closed session. Do we anticipate, how much total time do we anticipate since we've got public and staff waiting?
30 to 45 minutes.
Okay, then we will be back before lunch, hopefully, and we are going to recess into closed session. Thanks. Okay, it's 12:07. We're back from closed session. We have nothing to report, and we're going to recess for lunch. Be back at 1:30. Do I have a county council? Well, we have a county council. I was just wondering if she was going to grace us with her presence. Okay, I'm going to reconvene the Board of Supervisors. And we already made this announcement, but since no one was here and the tape was not on, we did return from closed session prior to our break for lunch, and we had nothing to report. So will the clerk of the board please read our 1:30 appointment?
This is a public hearing to consider Jamestown Vine conditional use permit and a resolution to amend the existing agricultural management plan for Williamson Neck Land Conservation Contract.
Staff report.
Good afternoon. My name is Renee Hendry. I'm the project planner. We have before you an application from Jamestown Vines LLC for a conditional use permit CUP 19-003 and Williamson Neck Contract Amendment WA 19-001. Here are the vision, mission, and values policies of Tuolumne County, which we utilize to process every project application that we receive. Conditional use permit CUP 19-003 is being requested to allow up to 40 weddings and other events for up to 200 people a year on a 52.3 acre site that is in the Williamson Neck Land Conservation Program. The agricultural management plan also needs to be amended in order to allow the weddings and events pursuant to our resolution 10604. The property is located at 12581 Algerine Road, northwest of the intersection of Twist Road and Algerine Road. The site is currently zoned exclusive agricultural, 37-acre minimum agricultural preserve combining. The general plan and land use designation is also agricultural. This is the project's location on Algerine Road. The site is surrounded by agricultural land as designated by the green color. The state's Williamson Neck Land Conservation Program began in 1965 to help farmers preserve agricultural land. In exchange for entering into a 10-year contract, the property owner receives a tax reduction on the property. The contract automatically renews every December 31st for another 10 years and remains in the program until a notice of non-renewal is either served on the property by the owner or the county for it to begin coming out of the Williamson Neck program. Resolution 10604 is how Tuolumne County enforces the state's Williamson Neck program. Rule 4B6 states that any proposed changes to the land use of a previously approved contract requires that the property owner submit a new agricultural management plan and have the changes reviewed by the Agricultural Advisory Committee. And the Board of Supervisors gives the final approval or denial of the project. The project is located within Agricultural Preserve 89. The preserve contains several other parcels which are also in the Williamson Neck program. Rule 8C6 of Resolution 10604 states that commercial events such as weddings or other types of events may be allowed on contracted land subject to obtaining a conditional use permit. The use cannot be detrimental to the agricultural productivity on the parcel or interfere with the agricultural use on other contracted land within the agricultural preserve. conditional use permit CUP 19-003 and the amended agricultural management plan were considered by the Agriculture Advisory Committee at its meeting on April 18, 2019. The committee recommended approval of the use permit and recommended amending the agricultural management plan to allow up to 40 weddings or events a year for up to 200 people. Resolution 10604 states that these recommendations shall then be referred to the Board of Supervisors for consideration. Here are the findings used to determine if the proposed conditional use permit is consistent with the Tuolumne County General Plan, consistent with the Ordinance Code, and consistent with Resolution 10604 regarding Williamson Act contracted land. Here are the findings on the amended agricultural management plan. The plan must be consistent with the General Plan, the Ordinance Code, and consistent with Rule 3 of Resolution 10604, and also the Government Code regarding events on agricultural land as a compatible use in association with agricultural use. The Board of Supervisors may either approve the project with modified conditions, deny the project, or even send the project back to staff to work on any outstanding issues. And we also request the Board of Supervisors direct the environmental coordinator to sign the notice of exemption for this project. Any questions?
Any questions by the board? Okay, this is a public hearing. I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. The project proponent, does the project proponent wish to make a comment at this time? Seeing none. Any public comment on this project? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. Supervisor Gray, I believe this is in your district.
Yeah, this type of use, I think, is important for the economy, and it's a really nice place out there. I would move that this is a long one, that we approve this on item 1, A through H, 2, A through 3, and number 3. Is that enough?
Okay. Do I have a second? Okay, I've got a motion by Supervisor Gray, a second by Supervisor Brennan, and I just want to, before I call for the vote, I just want to echo Supervisor Gray's comments. This is a great business opportunity for the proponent, and it is also a great economic opportunity for this county, and I hope we can see some more of this kind of stuff in the future. And with that, I'll go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0. Would the clerk of the board, thank you very much. Would the clerk of the board please read item 6? And yes, 6. Yeah. I'm sorry. Item 13. Item 13. It was my priority number 6 on my agenda. You're number 6.
That's okay. Number 13 is the second reading and adoption of an ordinance correcting a clerical error in Exhibit A of Ordinance Number 3361.
Staff report.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Quincy Yaley, Assistant Director of Development at the Community Resources Agency. On May 21st, 2019, your board adopted Ordinance 3361 to rezone a 0.95 acre site from C1 to BP Business Park. The property is located at 17425 Overland Trail and 21202 Westling Lane. Through a clerical error, Exhibit A, which is attached to your board packet, incorrectly contained a map which identified a property which was not a part of the project. So we're back here before you today for a second reading to adopt an ordinance to correct Exhibit A of Ordinance Number 3361.
Okay. Any board questions? Any public comment? Bring it back to the board. I'm not even sure whose district it's in. Does someone want to take ownership of this?
Move on staff recommendation.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Supervisor Gray, second by Supervisor Campbell. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, 5-0. Thank you. We're a little slow after lunch, apparently. So, okay, now we'll get back on the regular schedule. Let's start with item number 10.
This is consideration of adopting the Community Corrections Partnership Plan goals and budget for the fiscal year 2019-2020.
Good afternoon, Chairman Rutherford, members of the board, Linda Downey, Chair of the Community Corrections Partnership, and Chief Probation Officer. The item before you is a request for acceptance by your board of the Community Corrections Partnership Plan update and budget for fiscal year 2019 and 2020. Included in the memo is an update regarding changes in the plan as well as identified goals. It is anticipated that the committee will return to your board at a later date and give a full presentation, as in the past. The presentation will include a review of the year as well as the progress that is made on our identified goals. In accordance with AB 109 and AB 117, the county created a Community Corrections Partnership, or the CCP, and developed a plan that will enable the county to meet the goals of public safety realignment. The CCP executive committees in Tuolumne County consists of 7 members: the Chief Probation Officer, who chairs the committee, the presiding judge of the Superior Court, the district attorney, the sheriff, the public defender, the director of behavioral health, and the City of Sonora's chief of police. I don't think any of them are here. I think they've abandoned me. On May 13, the CCP approved a fiscal year 2019-2020 operating budget in the amount of $2,447,000. Since this meeting, the state has estimated Tuolumne County's anticipated allocation to be slightly above $3 million, which will result in a revenue of over $592,000 more than our budgeted expenses. The fiscal year 2019-2020 AB 109 operating budget approved by the CCP Executive Committee include the following. The Behavioral Health Department would continue funding for 0.5 FTE behavioral health clinician and a specific line item for housing and residential substance abuse treatment services for AB 109 offenders. Behavioral Health also proposed to maintain funding for a 0.1 FTE recovery counselor and 0.1 FTE peer specialist. All funding would be utilized in an effort to provide a smooth transition for applicable persons from jail or prison and address the necessary treatment or resources to reintegrate into our community. The District Attorney's Office would continue funding for a 1.0 FTE victim witness advocate assigned to victims of AB 109 related crimes. The purpose of the program is to reduce the trauma that victims may experience in the wake of a crime, to improve the criminal justice system's understanding of the needs of victims, and to attempt to decrease the incidence of unreported crimes by establishing a trust in the criminal justice system. The DA would also receive increased funding equivalent to a 0.5 FTE for a relief attorney to work on Penal Code 1170H, post-release community supervision, and mandatory supervision cases. The Probation Department would continue funding at fiscal year 2018-2019 approved levels. Probation's AB 109 funding supports associated staffing of 8.0 FTEs and services including pretrial programming, electronic GPS and alcohol monitoring, drug testing, work release, community service, and high-risk supervision in conjunction with the Sheriff's Office. These programs enhance public safety and provide AB 109 offenders with viable alternatives to incarceration, which is one of the main goals of AB 109. Probation would also utilize up to $15,000 as necessary for pretrial activities, including leading efforts in developing and applying a new risk assessment tool. GEO, Reentry Services, formerly known as Behavioral Interventions, or BI, would continue contracting with the county to provide evidence-based programming utilized by multiple CCP partners to reduce recidivism in AB 109 offenders. GEO provides services both in the jail through the jail reentry program and post-release in our day reporting center. As you may recall, the CCP voted to not renew the lease option of the former Alternatives to Detention Center or Day Reporting Center site, which expired effective November 1st, 2018. All associated programming was moved to county properties as a cost-saving measures, which is savings of just under $60,000 in annual leasing fees. The Sheriff's Office would continue AB 109 funding at fiscal year 2018-2019 approved levels to support staffing of 7.5 FTEs and services including jail operation, male and female inmate work crews, the high-risk supervision in conjunction with the probation department. The Sheriff's Office would also utilize AB 109 funding for one-time expenses, including jail-based competency treatment training through the California Department of State Hospitals and emergency medical technician, or EMT training, for one deputy assigned to inmate work crews, an off-road utility vehicle with trailer for inmate work crews and emergency use, and irrigation shade cover equipment for the growing nursery work program. The partnership voted to continue working on two previously identified goals for fiscal year 2019-2020. The first one was to refine and formalize the pretrial release program. We've been working on that for a number of years. And the creation of a trial mental health competency program to assist offenders that are found mentally incompetent to stand trial under Penal Code Section 1368 with treatment and possibly restoration services while locally incarcerated and awaiting placement in the state hospital system. Currently, the courts and probation are working together on a grant proposal regarding funding for a pretrial pilot program through the Judicial Council. The Sheriff's Office has recently started working with the Department of State Hospitals in regards to the jail-based competency treatment program. And finally, even though they're not here, I would like to thank the Executive Committee and all who participate in the partnership. It is an honor to serve alongside dedicated public servants and elected officials who are committed to the safety of our community with the goals of restoring victims, reducing our recidivism rates, and strengthening our families. It is respectfully recommended that your board accept the fiscal year 2019-2020 Community Corrections Partnership Plan, update, and budget with the understanding that staff will return at a later date to present the annual report.
Okay. Any questions on the board? Public comment? Just a second. I got one.
I do have a quick question.
Okay. Hold the public comment for a second. Go ahead and ask the question.
Just reading at the break on Senate Bill 144, and if that happens to pass, will that have any effect on this AB 109 money, or is it pretty solid?
The AB 109 money, the base funding is pretty stable. Where we saw an increase in our funding was in the growth amount, and that fluctuates. That's the $590,000 to $100,000 that we're receiving. And we're receiving that based on, it's an incentive-based growth, and we're receiving that due to the higher than normal proportion of Tuolumne County felony probationers improvement relative to the statewide statistics for 2018. But the actual base has been pretty steady.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Now public comment. Thank you for waiting.
You. Well, I support this because I'm very impressed with all the things they would do, and I would really like to see the mental health competency court. I think that would really help us a lot. So, woohoo.
Okay. Any comments by the board? I got one. Actually, I got two. One, you kind of slid through that $520,000, but that's because we're doing much better at what AB 109 wanted us to do. And I think I want to echo your pride or whatever, I can't remember the word you said, of working with a good set of partners. I really think our Community Correction Partnership Program, if it's not a model for the state, it certainly is one that can set a good example for it. So I really appreciate that. And I'm not sure the Senate bill or whatever, but I'm reading that there's some legislation that is going to alleviate post-incarcerants from the responsibility to pay for their own programming and stuff, and that's going to be falling on local jurisdictions instead.
That's 144.
Is that 144? Okay. So you say not much impact on that?
That, not on the AB 109 funding, that, the SB 144.
But on our programming.
Is the fees. It was similar what they did with the juvenile fees when
Sure.
they.
So that is going to have a deleterious impact on us.
Yeah, I think that for the probation department, we receive, I want to say about $65,000 a year. Does that sound right? In fees and funds?
About 60 for work release plus up to 30 for contract with human services.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is going to have some impact on us.
If it passes.
If it passes.
Yeah, I'll be
Another example of an unfunded mandate, in essence. So, okay.
I have another question, too.
Go ahead.
I was reading that there is some potential legislation, and I don't have the number, moving those that are up to 25 years into the juvenile system, or keeping them in the juvenile system.
She's not.
Are you talking about the transitional age?
Yes. So, what impact will that have on this process?
None that I'm aware of.
Oh.
There's more about, there's a couple of pilot programs that's addressing that population, and they're actually housing, that's some of the repurposing that you're hearing about in some of the juvenile facilities. I think there's 5 or 6 counties that are looking at that transitional age youth and housing them in a separate housing unit.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Looking for a motion on the recommendation.
So I'll move that we accept the 2019-20 Community Corrections Partnership goals and attached budget.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Supervisor Brennan, second by Supervisor Gray. All these in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Going to figure out. Okay.
11.
Item number 11.
Consideration of approving a contract amendment with WellPath, formerly known as the California Forensics Medical Group, for medical services for inmates at the Tuolumne County Jail and youth detained at the Mother Lode Regional Juvenile Detention Facility.
Thanks. Chairman Rutherford, members of the board, Assistant Administrator Reinhardt. This is concerned with the contract amendment as has been read. As you know, Title 15 of the California Code of Regulations. Oh, thank you. Thanks for your help, Carol. As you know, Title 15 of the California Code of Regulations requires that all local detention facilities provide basic and emergency medical services to all incarcerated individuals, including adult inmates and detained youth. The county has designated the Public Health Department as responsible for administrating these services, which are provided through a contract with California Forensic Medical Group, now merged with WellPath. Under the current agreement, which began in July of 2015, a flat base rate pays for these services, including basic medical care, pharmaceutical management, inpatient hospitalization, dental, and mental health screening. These services, provided to an average daily population of about 145 combined adult inmates and youth detained at the Mother Lode facility. The costs for any additional individuals beyond 145 are reimbursed to WellPath at a per diem rate. There's a table on page 2 which illustrates how the Consumer Price Index has been used in the past and the present time to provide those rates and the proposed rates for the fiscal year 2019-2020. In addition, recently, WellPath has requested a 4-hour per week increase in nursing support services because a nurse is required to be on site early in the morning to give medications to inmate workers and those that are required to leave the facility for court hearings before the nurse's scheduled start time. This has created and could create scheduling challenges impacting service needs into the evening. So WellPath explored other options with the county jail staff and the county and have determined that the additional 4 hours per week will satisfy inmate needs and jail operations and will ensure compliance within the scope of the contract with the county. This request was discussed with and is supported by the jail commander. I'm not sure if Tamara.
Yes, she is.
Hi, Tamara. Thanks for coming. While the last of the fourth and final allowable amendments under current agreement has been exhausted, both parties wish to extend the agreement for an additional 1-year term for fiscal year 2019-2020 in order to offer continuation of these required services while the new jail is being constructed. It's expected that if the new jail with up to 230 average daily population comes online prior to the end of fiscal 1920, staff will need to renegotiate an amendment to the contract to include additional costs attributable to an increase in ADP. Prior to the completion of the fiscal year 1920 amendment term, the Public Health Department will be running a request for proposals and in order to establish a new contract to cover services at the new jail and the juvenile facility beginning in July of 2020. The proposed contract amendment would exercise a fifth 1-year extension through fiscal year 2019-20 with costs adjusted according to the annual percentage change in the CPI as in the table. Financial considerations: there is no county general fund cost associated with this contract amendment, which has been built into the Public Health's proposed 2019-20 budget and is paid through the Public Health Realignment Funds. This proposed amendment includes a 2.8% CPI increase of $2,692 per month over the fiscal 18-19 monthly base contract rate cost of $96,157. This amendment also includes coverage of the 4 additional registered nurse hours at the jail at a rate of $1,487 per month. So the total monthly cost for fiscal year 1920 will be $100,336, and the annual total base cost for fiscal year 2019-20 will be $1,204,036 and some cents. With respect, it's recommended that your board approve the fifth contract amendment between the County of Tuolumne and WellPath, formerly known as CFMG, for medical services, required medical services of the inmates of the Tuolumne County Jail and the detained youth of the Mother Lode facility at an annual cost of $1,204,036 from July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, and authorize the chair to sign.
Okay, any board questions?
Pretty clear in the report.
Yep.
Public comment?
I'd like to know if the realignment funds are going to cover this whole cost, or is some of this going to have to come out of your public health budget also? Because that's a chunk of change.
Call on my fiduciary expert to give me some help with this. Thanks for the question, Carol.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Steve Boyack from the Human Services Agency. As you know, this contract is covered right now by public health realignment, and it's covered through the 1.2 million and some change. So any additional costs attributable to this contract would be coming from public health realignment. So as we deliberate upcoming budget discussions moving towards the adopted budget, this topic of discussion will be coming before your board as to how we are going to cover the additional costs attributable to this contract when we move from 145 ADP to possibly 230.
Okay. I have an answer. We just don't arrest any more people, and then we're just in good shape. Will that work?
Okay. Any pertinent comments by the board? Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
It's been a long day.
It has been a long day and not an easy one. Okay. Thank you very much. Anything else from the board? Looking for.
I did have a question, but it was, as has happened in the past, it was addressed by a member of the public. So
okay.
No question.
Can I get a motion then?
I'll move on staff recommendation
Okay.
to approve the contract.
Okay, I've got a motion by Supervisor Kirk, a second by Supervisor Campbell. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0. For those of you that were waiting with bated breath for item number 12, it's been pulled. Will the clerk please read item number 14?
This is consideration of approving the voting system replacement contract for 2018 with the state of California.
You've worn out a little shoe leather going back and forth today.
Yeah, but now I'm in a happy mood.
There we go.
I am the Register of Voters for Tuolumne County. My name's Debbie Batista. What you have in front of you is a contract with the County of Tuolumne and the State of California via the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State this year in March decertified numerous voting equipment, including ours, which means that equipment cannot be used in the March election. So as a funding source, they have adopted these contracts. And so we have put together, with lots of the other counties, gone and viewed a lot of equipment. We've kind of chosen the equipment that we want, but we haven't signed any contracts. Those will be all brought to you in June, or in July. The other thing that should be noted is that right now this contract is 50-50, but if we go to SB 40, which we plan to do in the state, in the governor's budget, the match drops down to 25%. The other thing in the governor's budget, there is a couple other available funding sources for the counties that I did not include in the 1920 budget that I hope to use for equipment also once the budget is passed. So if you have any questions, we kind of don't have a choice. We need to buy new equipment.
No.
Well, then you better get a new register of voters because I'm not going to jail.
Any questions? Pretty straightforward. Public comment? I assume the public wants to vote, so
yes.
Given that, I'm looking for a motion.
Move on staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay. Supervisor Brennan moved. Supervisor Gray seconded to replace our voting system. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained.
Thank you.
5-0. Will the clerk of the board please read item number 17?
Do you want to recess first?
Oh, yeah. I'll recess the Board of Supervisors, reconvene as the Tuolumne Public Power Agency. And will the clerk of the board please read item 17?
Sure. This is consideration of adopting the proposed Tuolumne County Public Power Agency fiscal year 2019-2020 budget.
Good afternoon, Chairman Rotifer, members of the board. Liz Peterson, I am the Tuolumne Public Power Agency Coordinator. I am here, as I am every year, to request your board approve the annual budget for the Tuolumne Public Power Agency. This sets the rate for our members for the year, and the rate really is determined by three major power costs, as you'll see in attachment A. The three power costs primarily come from the Western Area Power Administration, or WAPA, and they are the ones who give us the power that is generated from New Maloney's Dam. The Tuolumne Public Power Agency, in cooperation with the Calaveras Public Power Agency, receives 25% of the power that is generated from that dam in Maloney's every year. So WAPA makes sure that we receive the appropriate allocation of power. PG&E then charges us to use their infrastructure, their lines, their meters, etc. And then Cal ISO is the scheduling coordinator to make sure that the power is on the lines when our members need it. So those costs are passed through to our members, as well as some administrative costs to run the program, some other things like that. We divvy up those expected or anticipated costs for the year, and that's how we develop our rate, our usage rate. This year, we are proposing a rate of 8.45 cents per kilowatt hour. That is an increase from last year's rate of 7.71 cents per kilowatt hour. And that's primarily due to our expected increase of usage overall as a result of bringing Chicken Ranch on as a member in April, it was. So as you can see, though, I did include attachment D, which shows the 2018 usage for our members. Obviously, Chicken Ranch was not a member at the time, but this was their previous usage. So what they would pay based on this new rate, if your board approves it, and then what they would have paid if they were members of PG&E, you can see it's quite the savings, despite the fact that we will have to increase our rate just slightly this year. So I am asking that your board approve the budget as outlined in the memo there, and set the rate at 8.45 cents for the year.
Okay, any questions by the board?
In order to establish that rate, just for the public's benefit, you do meet with the clients, the ones that are buying that?
Yeah, so I do communicate with them. Once I've done all the calculations, I let them know, hey, this is where we're at. Yeah.
And you haven't had anybody say no if they don't want to pay that cheap rate?
Frankly, there is... we have to pay what we have to pay. So there's not a lot of option there. We do have a little bit of, the administrative costs are minimal, and I try to keep that really low. So not a lot of option, but as you see in that attachment D, it's a pretty good deal.
They're not all running out to the competition.
Yeah.
They don't seem, I bet they would. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, public comment? Bring it back to the board, looking for a motion.
Chairman Rotifer, I move we approve the proposed Tuolumne County Public Power Agency fiscal year 2019-2020 budget with the discussed rate.
Okay. You got a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Supervisor Campbell moved, Supervisor Kirk seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, 5-0. Okay, so the easy part's done. Will the clerk of the board please read item number 18?
Reports.
Okay, clerk of the board.
I don't have any reports, thank you.
County Council.
Sure, just a few things. Our office has been busy dealing with some probate and conservatorship matters as well as litigation, but also last week I attended, along with Supervisor Brennan and CAO staff, a meeting with the insurance commissioner, as well as a discussion with some staff from RCRC. And then I also attended a meeting with Supervisors Rotifer and Brennan with Chicken Ranch tribal representatives. Thank you.
Okay. CAO. Pseudo-CAO.
Nothing else to report. County Council covered what I was going to report.
Okay. Supervisor Kirk.
First 5 commission attended. I was a guest speaker at the Aging Commission. Met with some of the districts in Tuolumne City. Yes, partnership. Also went to Twin Heart CSD. They're creating a park up there in my district. And then yesterday I was at the office with Supervisor Campbell doing a doing a tour of the CAO's office. And also Mount Provo Road we're working on. We've had AT&T out there. We've had Frontier out there. And we've also called 811 for them to mark, make sure there's no utilities underneath the road. So we're working on addressing that, and hopefully here in the next few weeks we can actually get it graded and ready for this fire season. So other than that.
Okay. Supervisor Campbell?
Yeah, so I attended I think it was my 8th Father's Day fly-in over the weekend, which is it's always a good event. In the past week, I participated on the ADCA board and Internal Affairs Committee, and we retooled the hiring process for the ADCA director, and we also have a new director, so we're very happy about that. I toured the roads and streets of District 2 with our CRA director, David Gonzalez, and I think I intentionally drove over the potholes so that he could really feel the impact of various streets. I showed him all the worst spots, so we're definitely aware of the condition of the roads in District 2. Participated on the Tuolumne County Transportation Council. I took a tour of the new jail site with county staff and jail personnel and the contractor out there working. It's come along great. It's a much more modern facility than what we have right now. I think even in the state it's in without a roof, it's still a better condition in many ways than our current jail. I participated in a tour sponsored by the Tuolumne Utilities District that was a tour of essentially their infrastructure. We started at Pinecrest Lake, went down to Lyons Lake, and then looked at some of the flumes and some of the ditching systems. And I had conversations with, I think, every member of the TUD board throughout the day. It was most of the day we spent doing this. And I noticed there were several Valley water agencies that were participating on the tour as well. Had a meeting with the Bureau of Land Management. We're moving forward, outlining a plan to address illegal dumping in Tuolumne County. We've had some great conversations with the Bureau of Land Management. The reason why they're a big partner in this is that people will use county roads to get to BLM land to dump trash and other household debris that they shouldn't be doing. So we're really taking a pretty active role in reducing that. Lastly, I participated in the Access Tuolumne meeting. That's my report.
Okay. Supervisor Gray.
Okay. On Monday the 10th, we had a LAFCO meeting, and we did vote to include a project in Jamestown into the Jamestown Sanitary District. Possibly there's a project that might move forward with that particular action. Special board meetings, but we were all there. On the 12th SWIFT meeting, and they unveiled the new SWIFT map, and if any of the supervisors haven't had a chance to look at it, it's pretty impressive. It really shows you the value of a group like that, when you can come up with a document like that you can actually bring up on your phone in an emergency. It's money well spent. TCTC meeting on the same day. It's good that we've been having visits by the new director, and I've lost his name right now, but it's good to have District 10 director come to our meetings and be able to talk to them firsthand about the subject. And we did talk about that Jamestown
Traffic lights, but also
John McElhaney.
You got it, yeah. McElhaney. John McElhaney, or Dan McElhaney. Okay, so one of the things that we did discuss was the Peaceful Oaks off-ramps, on and off-ramps, and working towards trying to get that funded and possibly get it started, and it's looking pretty good. So keep our fingers crossed. I think that's really going to help that area out there, and that's of interest is all I got. Thank you.
Supervisor Brennan.
Yeah, on the 5th and 6th, I was at the Sierra Nevada Conservancy Board meeting.
down in Kern County and continue to talk about how we are going to be looking at strategically dispersing the grant funds that are out, that were in the last round of bond money that was approved by the voters in June, and how that work is going to be done strategically. And the reason, so I was at 3 different events over the last 2 weeks. The next one was on Monday with the Tree Mortality Work Group and the Forest Management Task Force. It was the same conversation. And there is a recognition that tree mortality was successful because it was driven at the local level by folks on the ground that knew what was going on. And in both of these meetings, there was a recognition of the need that we've got to be able to get the resources to the local jurisdictions and then let the local jurisdictions work through their groups. And Supervisor Gray Swift was brought up as an example of success. And it's hard to quantify that success. And by that, during the Rim Fire, we should have lost the city of Pine Mountain Lake, or we certainly could have. But because of all the proactive work that had been done in the South County, it was a success. But because we don't have a disaster, it's very difficult to quantify that. So these conversations are going to be continuing, and there is going to be a real effort to, again, how do we get the resources that are part of this grant tsunami with vegetation management to the local level, where the locals know how to implement the programs and do the best work on the ground. I'll end with that.
Okay. I've got a couple of announcements, and then I'll do my report real quick. First of all, for the benefit of my colleagues, after doing a little bit of research and talking to several people, both at the state level but also locally, I have directed staff to indefinitely pull the high-speed rail communication that I was proposing at the last meeting. So that will not be coming back to us. If someone else wants to take it on, be my guest, but I don't plan on bringing it back. Also, this information was provided to me. The county fair is having a flash sale on this Thursday, the 20th. It's either in their office or online from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Family pack of 4 tickets for 4 for $16, and that is for the July 4th date only. So provide that information for the public. And then in no particular order, and I don't have all the dates down, but I did chair the quarterly meeting that I have with the various veterans organizations on the care and maintenance of our veterans facilities with the maintenance facility staff. I did attend the ATCA board meeting along with Supervisor Campbell. He's already addressed that. I did attend the grand opening of Peaceful Valley Farmers Market, and I encourage anyone in the public to go check that thing out. They've got great pizza and great tacos. I tried them both. So it comes with my recommendation. I did, along with County Council and County CAO's office and Supervisor Brennan, attend a meeting with our Chicken Ranch tribe, or band, and it was a very informative meeting. And I also went to the fly-in, and if you missed it, you missed it. It was really a pretty good event. So, and I'm not sure I can claim 10, but I'm right up there with you. Anyway, with that, that's my report. And any other items from the board?
Yeah, one I forgot.
Okay.
I'm going to pass these down today. These are photographs from a group called the Sierra Cowgirls Color Guard. They present Tuolumne County's flag in different venues, Oakdale, Sonora, and they've been doing this now for about 6 years. So they're a pretty attractive group, and they seem to always win first place.
Amazing. Thank you very much. I'll go ahead and pass these on, and we can look at them here after the meeting. Anything else?
That's it.
Seeing nothing, The meeting of the Tuolumne County Supervisors on June 18th is adjourned.
Pass that down to John. I think that's John's.
I don't think that's the Cowgirls.
No.